talk about the improvisational pantry. This defines it. We've got maybe 4 ingredients and all of them are in the pantry. So the history of this dish is really fun. And it comes from my great-grandmother. On the Italian side, she had 11 kids and 5 of them were girls. And one of the sisters, Sarah, who I went to visit to learn a lot about family history, she taught me about this dish. Cicci di pasta is what she called it. Basically, it's chickpeas and pasta. And I've minced 2 cloves of garlic here. So I have my pan heating, and I'm gonna get some olive oil in the pan. Everything's happening right here, and I have my water boiling for my pasta. So I get a little bit of oil in there and get the garlic in. Heated this up. I don't like it too hot when this garlic hits the pan, and I don't like to keep this in here for too long. That's about 20 to 30 seconds is what I've discovered is my favorite amount of time when I just want the garlic just kissed with the hot oil. And then about a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, which will infuse the oil and the garlic and bring a lot of flavor very fast. So this looks perfect. And I'm gonna add 3 cups of drained chickpeas, otherwise known as chichi beans, garbanzo beans. And if you're new to getting your family to eat legumes and beans, start with chickpeas. They've got a wonderful ability to suck up the flavor of whatever you're cooking with them. And they're just, I don't know, I just found it to be when I started giving my kids beans and legumes, the chickpeas were a real hit. So I'm gonna let this cook away for a little bit. And over here I have 1 can of tomatoes. Now I always buy canned tomatoes whole, and then I do what I need to do to get them to the size that I want. So this dish is a bit of a soupy dish, so I'm gonna get this going, a little bit of texture, not too much, and leave that be. And come over and see how I'm doing here. You only need this to cook long enough just to infuse the chickpeas with the oil and the red pepper flakes. Anyway, getting back to Aunt Sarah, who I went to visit, and she taught me so much about my family. The thing that cracked me up is the last time I visited her, she was 90, and it was in a place called Rome, New York, which is where our family was from. And we were pulling out in a snowstorm. She was driving. And something happened with the car, and she jumped out of the car and popped the hood. I thought, that's what I want to be doing when I'm 90, all right? So anyway, she taught me so many dishes where she would use potatoes sliced for lasagna instead of the noodles. And this is the dish that she taught me that day that she said her mama used to make for their whole brood. So I'm just gonna put the tomatoes right here in the pan. And sometimes I'll go and get a little bit of water, and then I'll just rinse out my blender. It gives me a little bit more liquid to the pan. And that's about it for now. And then I'll just taste it and see how I'm doing with salt and pepper. That's the thing about canned tomatoes. Sometimes they have a little bit more saltiness than others, depending on what kind you get. Now, let's give it a little taste and see. I'm gonna give it some salt and a little bit of pepper, just to bring in a little bit more flavor. And I'm gonna bring this up just a little bit, and then to this, I add some chicken broth. So I'm gonna add about 1½ cups. I'm looking for a bit of a soupy, but not too soupy. It's like halfway between soup and stew. And believe it or not, everything we have in here is all you need for a whole boatload of flavor. Now the noodles that I use for this, obviously you could pretty much use any noodles that are in your pantry, so don't worry if you don't have it. But I always keep shells on hand. Because what I love when I'm serving it, especially when the kids were little in a little bowl, I love when the shells get a little chickpea nestled inside of them with a little bit of the soup. And I can say that I don't think anybody feels as though they're being deprived and not having any meat, or maybe they think, uh-oh, Mom just cooked from the pantry tonight. And then if you have, like I do, I always keep a few little herbs out growing. When it's summer, I'll keep them out on the terrace, and when it's not summer, I just try to keep a few in little pots around, and if you have that, you can add a little pinch of fresh herb at the end, and it really brightens everything up. But other than that, I don't love dried herbs in this dish, because I just love the flavor of the little bit spicy tomatoes and the chickpeas and the chicken broth. It's a very, very comforting dish, and once you make it once, it's one of those things you'll just keep making over and over.